You referenced the label queer as
Mhm.
applicable to me as someone who is not necessarily a part of the
I started and
LGBTQIA
then go
community.
back. Yep. So
Yes,
ontologically, the word queer simply means that which is not in a pejorative position of power. So in America, in a society that is centered by design around cisgendered, heterosexual, able-bodied white men, at the term when this was all constructed, you also had to be Protestant and land owning.
right.
Everybody else is queer. So men who are not white, we are queer.
Wow.
Women are queer. People with disabilities are queer. People for whom English is not their native language are queer. What we've allowed people like the failed history teacher turned governor of Florida to do is to bastardize terms. Is to take terms like woke and suggest that they don't actually have meaning. And so I want us to celebrate that there's power in numbers. Mathematically, this is the 2045 of it all. The queer folks are in the majority. And the sooner we appreciate that, the
Mm.
fewer opportunities they will have to win anything by mathematical permutations alone.
I love that. I love that. Now let's go back to Sabon Fusome,
Yep.
because one of the things I often hear when we have these conversations, either on this station or when I'm doing community conversation type work through organizations I affiliate with, like Sankofa Community Empowerment and others. One of the things I often hear from oftentimes old revered elders in the community. Well, in addition to the fact that feminism is destroying the Black community, which is a quote that I've heard more times than I care to count from Black people, but I often hear
Tell me you
we
broke it
weren't.
and need therapy without telling me you broke it and need therapy, beloved. No, I'm sorry.
Listen, one of the things that I often hear, Dr. David Johns, is this idea that we didn't have gay people in Africa until the white man came. Now, you
Of
just
course.
read from Sabonfu Somé, who is, I believe, a part of the Dagara community in West Africa. At least that's
That's
where her
right.
husband, her beloved Malidoma Somé, before they departed this planet, is from the Dagara community. And y'all know I love me some Malidoma Somé. I have talked about this brother's work extensively. Now, what y'all
Uh-huh.
can't see until you get to the video is Dr. David
Uh-huh.
Johns with his exquisite manicure, absolutely lovely, is talking
Thanks,
to us
sir.
and going to read from the text. Talk to
No,
us about what's.
I'm just affirming what you said. Many generations of the Dagara people of West Africa. That's it. You gotta
That's
keep
it.
going.
That's it. So she says in her text that, wait a minute, we didn't have terms like gay and lesbian. That wasn't what we talked about. What we talked about was the role that people who we would now identify as gay, lesbian, trans, and a part of that community, the role that they played in the village, which to me presumes a couple things. Number one, they were accepted in the village. Number two, they were revered as because they performed not just before their humanity, which I'm sure is also the case, but they performed a very special sacred function in the village that without which the village is not whole. Talk to us. Let's delve into that a little bit, because I know we're stepping
Yeah,
on some toes.
yeah,
We're going to break some
yeah.
sacred
That's
cows.
fine.
Let's do it.
That's fine because
Yes.
these steps are ordained. So let's stay in this
Yes.
space. So same chapter 13, homosexuality, the gatekeepers. Everybody in the village respects that. Let me back up. What they do, they don't like to communicate to anyone. So there's an acknowledgement that trans folks keep to themselves. This is a part of what's going on now with regard to things being revealed and people being revered. It is their right to keep to themselves. Everybody in the village respects that because without gatekeepers, there is no access to other worlds. Most people in the West.
Wait. Pause. Y'all, did y'all hear that? Did you hear what he read from the writings of a revered elder who knows what she is talking about? You cannot access the village. Now, you might have your own personal relationship with whomever you pray to, but the village as an entity cannot access the supernatural without the presence of this community, this element of the community, which today we are so willing to throw away and disregard. Go ahead.
Those of us who are drunk off of whiteness, because I want to pause it and I'm going to come back to
Mm.
this text. I was able to affirm my ordained. Two things. Let me back up. My partner and I traveled with the invitation of the NAACP to Ghana together. A part of that was we were able to participate in ancestral DNA testing. We did African ancestry because it is one of the few that destroys your DNA after they give you your results, and it's matrilineal. Matrilineal DNA is the only one that does not change. And what I learned on
Wow.
the continent of Africa is that my partner and I share the same chromosomal DNA. We come from the same people
Whoa.
connected. I know that our ancestors conspired for us to find ourselves. Let's then fast forward to 3 years later. I'm able to affirm being brought together in this lifetime in a part of the world where gender pronouns do not exist. where gender pronouns do not exist, where there are terms
For anybody.
like, where there for anybody that is Western, it is white, it is colonial, it is designed to divide us. Gender, as we think about woman and what it means to be a woman, is different for us now when we think about the experiences of African women. Before Western imposition, women were entitled to property matrilineal and patrilineally. Now you got three, after Western white colonial imposition, you got three different ways to refer to a grown girl: MISS, MS, or MRS. And each of those comes with different political, social, economic divisions, all connected to a relationship with the white man that's sanctioned by the law. That's white people colonial stuff. So let's go back to it. I know that there are places where people who are what we call trans, in Hawaii or native of lands, Maho, that people are, they exist, they are revered, they are sacred because they are required for us to function. Most people, I'm reading now from the text again, page 132. Most people in the West define themselves and others by sexual orientation. This way of looking at gatekeepers will kill the spirit of the gatekeeper. Gatekeepers in the village are able to do their job simply because of strong spiritual connection, and also because of their ability to direct their sexual energy, not to other people, but to the spirit. Trans folks don't give a fuck about you and how you live or love. And the thing that vexes me most about it, Lurie, is, and this is why I said numbers, I am a public gay. I spent a lot of time finding comfort in the fact that people get to assume how I'm loved. Often people would ask me what sexual position I occupy without ever caring about if there was somebody who was loving on me. I know people who engage in all kind of technically queer sex, intimate, romantic, and otherwise, who will never identify as a member of a sexual minority community because of how the politics work. And you can hear it in my voice. It vexes the shit out of me that people do two things. One, we have demands and expectations of people that we would fight somebody if they had over ourselves. That we feel entitled to know somebody's genitalia is a manifestation of white mediocrity if I've ever experienced it. And for Black folks who know what it's like to have gone through transatlantic and Pacific enslavement, for us to sign up for anybody having their body offered up for consumption to white people should piss all of us off. We know this game. Yeah. Beyond the I need to know because I'm fascinated by that those of us who are connected to sources that are divine, who know that water is restorative and healing, who know that we can talk to our ancestors, that we can't see the game and appreciate that the targeting of trans folks who have always lived on the front line of resistance, if we don't appreciate that that is about them trying to preserve this enterprise and lock arms and aims and protect those of us who are literally the divine, if we can't figure that out, then we should just give it up.
And we ain't gonna do that. We ain't going to do that because that is not in our destiny, so long as we reject it. I want to sit in this space. One of the things we do on this show every single day, is we have a segment at the very beginning called A Moment of Gratitude. This show is very heavy. We sit at the intersection of race, gender, culture, identity, politics, and the law. And all of our stories and conversations, the news that we highlight, all are designed to uplift those elements. And so in addition to the fact that life just be laughing and it's difficult, I don't ever want this show to be like regular talking radio kind of conversations, which can be very depressing and very heavy. So we intentionally curate a moment where we breathe together and we focus on some inspiration, a painting, a poem, a song, something that will allow us, just as a collective, the millions of us who are listening at any given time, as a collective, to tap into a power greater than our intellect. And so for me, the restoration of the village requires a greater connection with our ancestors. It requires a real meaningful interrogation with the spiritual practices, which many of us embrace, that were designed to separate us from our spiritual power. So there is no, in my perspective, there is no restoration of the village. There is no real path forward until we reclaim some of those things that you were referencing, and until we make space and hold space for the same sorts of reverence for the members of the LGBTQ community that Sobonfu Somé talks about, that from her West African pre-colonial perspective and understanding.